Exorcist III, there were some issues on the mechanics of how the effects were going to be done. So I got a call from the effects coordinator, and he said, this is kind of an unusual show. Can you come up to Washington, D.C. and figure things out? So there was 2 crews. I ran the Georgetown crew, and then there was a Wilmington crew that was coming up with all of the cell effects.
Oh, Phil.
So I went up, and William Blatty was the author was the director of Exorcist III, which had its own issues. It's easy to write things, but it's not necessarily easy to transfer those into physical effects. So my first assignment was to figure out how to make a camera go down the Exorcist steps and be the point of view of the priest falling down the steps. And so over the course of time, we built a wheeled, 2-wheel. When you're on location, sometimes you just go grab things. So I went to Home Depot and I got some table rounds, plywood round circles that you can purchase. Those became the wheels. We then made an axle through the center, and we made a mount for the camera so the camera could rotate and be the point of view. And then on the outside of the axles, we cabled it off and hooked it to the bumper of one of the guy's Toyota trucks. And we literally backed up as fast as we could and let the camera roll down and bump down the stairs. And that became the point of view of the priest as he falls down the stairs. And the falling never ends, basically. Peter was interesting in that, for example, there was a scene where the door of the office just opens. And so Peter, and this door happened to be the president's door of Georgetown University, you know, the 100-year-old door of the president of the university. And Peter says, put a screw in that door and put a piece of monofilament on it, and you're going to pull the door open and closed. And the president of the university is standing there going, you know, oh my God, he's going to put a screw in my God knows classic door. And I said, no, I have a special tool for that. I ran out in the hallway, went to the janitor's cabinet, pulled out a broomstick, unscrewed it from the broom, and came back and said, this is a push pole, and we use it in effects to push or pull a door open. And Peter goes, oh, I didn't know there was a tool for that. And I go, yeah, it's a little known fact. And we pushed the door open and pulled the door closed with the threaded end of the broomstick. And Peter thought it was a special effects tool.
That's commendable.
I think as a director, the nicest thing he did on the show was let the actors who were substantial actors have their head, have their way. And George C. Scott and everybody involved basically directed themselves. He steered them a little bit, but they handled the characterization. They handled what my character would do in that instance, and I think they did a good job. I love George C. Scott. He was, the day I arrived, he was sitting over playing one of the early chess games that when you moved and plugged your piece in, it would move. It would say what the move would be, and then you move the other side. And he was all alone, and I walked over and I said, you know, if you ever want to play a game of chess, let me know. And the first thing I got was a production assistant ran up and said, I don't know who you are, but don't ever talk to Mr. Scott again. And he heard it. And he said, what are you saying? And she goes, well, I'm instructed to not let anyone speak to you. And he said, is that why I can't get anybody to talk to me? He goes, every time I look at somebody on set and I say, hey, how you doing? They look the other direction. And she goes, well, that's our instructions. And so he's like, sit down, play chess. And so from that point on, when he would see people, he'd say, no, you can talk to me and you can interface with me. I'm just a person. I don't care what they tell you. You can say good morning. You can come have a conversation. He was a very nice man.
You have a very kind face.
Morgan Creek was a horrible company. When I came onto the movie was at what they were into, what they call the contingency fund, meaning if the budget was $10 million, anything above $10 million, let's say there was a $3 million contingency fund. And when I arrived, they said, okay, we need the camera going down the steps, and how much is this going to cost? And I said, when I know what I'm doing, I'll let you know. And they said, well, we just want you to know you're into our contingency fund. And I said, well, break open the contingency fund, because, if you want the shot, it's not free. But they watched at each and everything, every moment. And for example, when we did the rose, and the kid comes out and he hands the rose, and then the priest continues to walk along, and the kid comes back out and he hands the rose, they were like, oh, well, we have to cut and we have to do this. And it's like, no, let's just put a motorcycle there. The kid comes out, you do the shot, you continue with the priest. The kid gets on a motorcycle, drives to the next location, comes out. By the time the priest gets there, the kid's there. And Morgan Creek could not find that as an easy solution. They kept trying to figure out how you would, well, what's another way we can do it? It's like, why? That's very simple. They made everything difficult on that show. By the time Exorcist III happened, I kind of looked at it as most sequels. You just realize that the production company is really just there to make money, and they don't have the original in their heart at that point.